It was only a matter of time before Mother Gothel would attempt to interfere in her daughter's relationship and remind her daughter that her relationship is only between her and God, and then, on camera, make comments about her daughter's relationship, and then make the whole situation about herself, while then commentating that a man is not a financial plan. Robyn Brown is trying to interfere in Aurora's relationship. On the surface, this is meant to be a tender scene between mother and daughter. Mother and 23-year-old daughter, who mother still hasn't allowed to move out of the house. And now that daughter is getting some independence, mother appears to be threatened by the boyfriend and doesn't seem to approve of him. I guess maybe it's because Brody's not from the cult. Maybe it's because her kid is making her own decisions. Maybe it's because she can't stop it. But it's not going to stop Robyn from trying to plant some seeds of doubt while also, talking about herself and applying it to her daughter. Yeah. Because Robyn 100% used Kody for his money. So, in this scene, they're making cookies because Robyn likes to spend one-on-one time with her kids when Kody is out of town. And during this, Robyn reveals that Aurora and Brody are in a real relationship. Excited about our trip? Yes, very excited. Brody's going to be finishing from basic training, and so we're going to go see him. At this point, they've almost been dating a year. It's not a situationship, they've called it. You guys are looking at this from a viewpoint of possible truly long-term. Yes. Thinking about it like literally constantly. I want Aurora to experience life on her own. What I find so strange about this is in person with Aurora, she's like, y'all are thinking about this long-term, right? And then Aurora's like, yes, we're praying about it. This feels like a religious mother pouring on the blame onto her daughter. And it's so weird because then in the one-on-one or in her talking head, Robyn's she wants Aurora to find herself on her own. Which is weird because if you want your daughter to find herself on her own, you could tell her she can move out or have her move out. Tell her to go get a place. Tell her to get some freedom. Don't keep her locked in a cage. Robyn needs a lot of support, I think, from her kids because it fuels her supply. Maybe I think she views maybe her kids as an extension of herself. Maybe she has her own regrets about not finding herself and finding a guy very early and then getting eaten up in that. Maybe she's been controlling the kids for so long, she thinks she gets to have a say here. But it's just so weird to me that in the talking head, she's like, I want her to live on her own. I want her to find herself. Sure you do. You do. You want her to find herself, right? But in the talking head, you're already laying the grounds that you're indirectly saying that you don't think this guy is the right guy. Because if you approved of him, you wouldn't say this. In multiple marriage in our church is okay for you to you could consider everyone pretty much. I remember being with Dad on a drive one time. All of a sudden, I was struck with God's spirit and I couldn't talk. Tears running down my face, and I felt God saying, this is your person. This is your life. This is who I brought to you. This is who you're supposed to be with. This is the family you're supposed to be with. I see that this scene is split. This is Robyn's attempt to launder a narrative that she's not a homewrecker because it was okay for her to consider anyone in the church they came from because polygamy. And that because she could consider anyone, she's not a homewrecker. And that her choice to be with Kody wasn't exactly her choice. It was God. It was God sending her a sign while she was driving with Kody, telling her that this was her person. So, she can say that it wasn't actually her choice to homewreck. It was God's choice. God wanted her to tear apart a family. God wanted her to bring her kids into chaos. God wanted her to live an illegal lifestyle. God wanted her to use all of her skills to destroy an entire family. And so because God said so, and because it was a divine message from God because she's the prophetess, right? She's so wonderful, so amazing. She's not a homewrecker. She's not a homier, you guys. It was God's divine. Guess we'll see, huh? Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's really between you and God and Brody to a certain extent. For me, it's between me and God and Brody. And for Brody, it's between him and God and me. A guy should not be a financial plan for a woman. But also, it's in a matter of confidence and a matter of finding out who she is before she's a mother. And it's just kind of knowing what you think and feel before your wife or mother. You get lost in those parts a lot of times as a woman. Robyn is seriously putting seeds of doubt in this talking head, right? And why would she say this about a man should not be a business plan for a woman? Why is she planting that seed as though that's the only reason why Aurora is interested in Brody? By the way, basic training, troops don't make a lot of money. So, is it that she's not happy with the fact that Brody won't have a big, massive income? I'm very confused by her. But did she truly say with a straight face that a man should not be a financial plan? Robyn, from the first chapter or the first chapters of becoming sister wife, if and when I married again, I wouldn't care the least bit what my husband looked like. None of the trivial stuff mattered to me anymore. My husband could be old or young, fat or skinny. I didn't care as long as he was a good man and a good husband. I wanted someone whose sole focus was taking care of his family. I knew that anyone who was interested in this job would have to show himself thoroughly and competently as caring, unselfish, and strong. I wasn't taking any risks. So she didn't care about what he looked like, how old he was, so long as he was unselfishly caring for her, meaning providing for her. Looks like Robyn was looking for a cash plan. And then later in the very same book where she says that she just wants a husband that will take care of her, she also talks about her mom not supporting her relationship with Kody. Of all my relatives, my mom struggled the most with my choice. And she still blocks my posts on her Facebook page because she doesn't want to answer the invasive questions that would follow. She isn't ready yet to be as open about her ideas as I am. When I told her about the show, she worried that I was putting my children in harm's way. She was especially worried for them since my first marriage was destructive and unstable. I was just starting to figure out how to be a single mom. She felt that I was being careless and not taking my children into consideration. This was difficult for me to hear, and I understood her concerns, but I also knew that I was bringing my children into the most wonderful family I'd ever seen and giving them the best father possible. So, she admits that her mom was worried about her bringing her kids into this family, going on a television show, and the negative effect that would have on the kids, partially because of their beliefs in this cult. But the other part of you're bringing your kids into this chaos, right? And she's just getting her feet as a single mom. So really what it sounds like here is that Robyn is projecting her own fears onto her daughter, who's a fully capable woman who doesn't have children and isn't bringing any kids into a chaotic situation. No, that was Robyn that did that. That was Robyn that was careless. And then this is another testament of what her goals were with marrying Kody. Several years before I married Kody, when I was in my greatest low point in my life, I made a list of all the things I wanted to accomplish. Since things were going so badly for me at the time, I allowed myself to dream as big as possible. Here's what was on my list. Change the world, meet Oprah, write a book, and own a business. I look back on that now and think, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. And then, it may be something you don't want. I can never underestimate the positive effect of sister wives, but there are days when I wake up and say to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. I want everything to go back to normal. Here. Being on television really changed my entry into the family. Sadly, during the first season, many of our fans cast me as a homewrecker out to destroy Mary Janelle and Christine. Isn't that funny? Isn't that exactly what happened? So, it sounds like Alice Robyn's mom gave her some advice to maybe establish herself before she had got into a position that she knew nothing about. And Alice might have had a hunch that maybe what was going over at Kody's house wasn't something she wanted to get into. But Robyn plays the victim, and I didn't do anything wrong. I brought my kids into this amazing home. And then it was a couple years ago, she basically said that the whole family was horrible, and they made her family terrible, and her kids are so abused by it. They don't even want to get married. And now when her daughter finally has a relationship at age 23, not 16, not 15, not even 14, 23. Her daughter, who I'm pretty sure has graduated from college, who is capable of having a full-time job, I don't know if she works, who would have the ability to care for herself, who still lives with her mom and dad because she's apparently being coddled and managed by her mother. Her mom is planting these seeds somehow it's not Kody and it's not Aurora and Brody's choice. It's really between Aurora and God. And Aurora makes the very obvious point of saying that she's not doing this without Brody and that the two of them will make this decision together. Gently sort of tapping down her mom, right? But if I were Aurora, I'd be kind of annoyed by my mom doing this whole scene with me so that she can try to launder her image by reframing her as the godly woman who had a vision from God about Kody, right? And that she had a bursting chest, so excited to be Kody's wife that she would turn this into Aurora is not ready to be a wife. Aurora is not ready to be a mother. Aurora needs to know herself before she does those things. Maybe because Robyn is projecting her own guilt onto her daughter. You know, you can still love your child and not smother them. You can still love your child and not make comments like a husband's not a financial plan. Yeah, Robyn, we've seen what your financial plan was. It was a husband. And then imply that there's a chance that this man is not good enough and that first of all, that Aurora is only doing this because she wants a financial plan. Does she really have such a bad opinion of her daughter that she doesn't think her daughter is capable of making her own choices? And poor Brody. This poor kid. There's a woman on national news basically planting the seed that he's a loser that doesn't make enough money because he's in the military. You want to bet if this guy was from the cult and made a ton of money, she'd be all for it? Do you want to bet if he was like a good fundamentalist Mormon that had a construction company and a mansion, she'd be all down with Aurora going that way, right? But because it's Brody, who's in the military, and won't be able to afford Aurora the lifestyle that she wants, she's begging on him, and then begging on her daughter and acting like her daughter's not capable of making her own choice. This is the one chance she has to be happy for her daughter and allow her daughter to spread her wings. And she's still finding a way to steal her thunder and try to sow seeds of doubt. You know, one of Aurora's cousins told me this. She was close with Aurora when they lived in Pinedale. And she said that for a long time after they moved, she would do these Zoom calls with Aurora and that Preston the dad would sneak on because Robyn would interfere and not let them talk on the phone or even via Zoom, and he missed his kids and the kid, and that they were always super coached whenever Robyn interfered. But Aurora would call Robyn Mother Gothall, and she said she felt like she was being suffocated and managed and not allowed to live her life. I mean, at this point, Aurora might as well be Cinderella because I'm sure Aurora has to do a lot of the housework. I'm sure because she's the oldest daughter, she has to help take care of her younger brothers. I'm sure there's a ton of duty on her. And then she has to deal with her mother's emotional immaturity and dysfunctional marriage, all while on reality television, and somehow explain that this guy that adopted her is somehow a catch. Robyn is the worst mom, and she truly is just terrible. And I feel bad for Brody. He seems like a good guy. But according to Robyn, he's not a financial answer. She needs to find herself. I.e., I don't approve of Brody. She's so obvious, you guys. She's so obvious. So what are your ideas about this? Tell me in the comments below. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't joined, and click the bell if you've never missed so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.